During a packed SeaWorld performance, trainer Annette Eckis suddenly found herself in a life-and-death struggle when an orca lunged from the water and dragged her into the pool. What began as a routine show turned into a terrifying fight for survival, stunning the audience and raising urgent questions about the risks of captivity. But this danger just may extend well beyond marine parks. Let's look into the horrific orca attack that shocked the world. Annette Eckis was a bright and ambitious young trainer whose passion for marine life had guided her career at SeaWorld. Her days were spent working closely with the park's orcas, creatures she viewed with equal parts admiration and respect. For Eckis, her job wasn't just about entertaining audiences. It was about fostering a connection between humans and the majestic marine animals she adored. Her bond with the orcas, particularly one named Orlin, was one she believed was built on mutual trust and understanding. On a sunny afternoon, SeaWorld was alive with excitement. Families gathered in anticipation, eager to witness the iconic orca performance. The trainers prepared backstage, going over routines and signals. For Eckis, the day felt routine. She had done this show countless times. The audience cheered as the orcas leaped gracefully out of the water, showcasing their intelligence and power. Eckis stood on the edge of the pool, her arm raised as she signaled Orlin to perform a high jump, a crowd favorite. As Orlin completed the jump, splashing down in a display of raw strength, Eckis smiled, but something felt off. Orlin's usual exuberance was absent, replaced by a tension that only a seasoned trainer could detect. Despite her unease, Eckis continued the routine, signaling for the next trick. The moment came suddenly. As Eckis turned her back to prepare for the next segment, Orlin surged toward the platform, lunging out of the water with startling speed. Before anyone could react, the orca clamped its massive jaws around her leg, dragging her into the pool with overwhelming force. The crowd, unaware at first of the danger, erupted in applause, mistaking the attack for part of the performance. It wasn't until Eckis disappeared beneath the surface that gasps began to ripple through the stands. Underwater, Eckis fought desperately. Orlin's immense strength made her feel powerless as she struggled to break free. The water churned violently as the orca dragged her deeper, thrashing her body like a toy. The trainer's years of experience and emergency training kicked in. She knew to remain calm and avoid making sudden movements that might provoke Orlin further. But the pain in her leg was excruciating, and her lungs burned as she fought to hold her breath. On the pool deck, chaos erupted. Fellow trainers scrambled to intervene, throwing rescue lines and using buckets of fish to distract Orlin. They shouted commands, hoping to break the orca's focus. The audience, now fully aware of the gravity of the situation, watched in stunned silence. Parents shielded their children's eyes as the water turned red with blood. Eckis surfaced briefly, gasping for air, her face etched with terror. But Orlin pulled her under again, his grip unrelenting. Trainers worked frantically to deploy a safety net, a tool designed for emergencies like this. They managed to maneuver the net into the pool, creating a barrier that separated Orlin from the deeper sections. It was a risky maneuver, but it provided the team with a brief opportunity to reach Eckis. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Orlin released her. Trainers rushed to pull Eckis from the water, her body limp and battered. She was rushed to the hospital with severe injuries, including deep lacerations to her leg and significant bruising. Though her life was saved, the attack left both physical and emotional scars that would take years to heal. In the aftermath, SeaWorld faced intense scrutiny. The attack reignited debates about the ethics of orca captivity and the safety of trainers working with such powerful and unpredictable animals. Critics argued that keeping orcas in confined environments caused immense psychological stress, leading to aggression. Others defended the park, citing the rarity of such incidents and the precautions taken to protect both trainers and animals. For Eckis, the attack marked a turning point in her life. Once an advocate for marine parks, she began to question the practices she had once defended. Her recovery was long and grueling, filled with surgeries and physical therapy. Yet, the emotional trauma proved even harder to overcome. The memory of Orlin's eyes, so close and yet so distant, haunted her. Orlin, too, became a focal point of the controversy. Animal rights groups called for his release, while SeaWorld maintained that the orca's actions were an anomaly. The incident led to changes in safety protocols, including the implementation of stricter rules regarding trainer interactions with orcas. It was a calm summer day in the English Channel, with the waters calm and the skies painted a gentle blue. The sailing yacht Blue Horizon glided effortlessly through the waves, its sails catching a steady breeze. On board, the small crew of 3 relished the peaceful atmosphere. The English Channel, with its picturesque views and moderate conditions, was a favorite destination for sailors, and this journey was meant to be a relaxing escape. The crew, a mix of seasoned sailors and one novice, enjoyed the gentle rhythm of the sea. They shared laughter, snacks, and stories about previous voyages. The yacht's captain, a retired naval officer, took pride in his well-maintained vessel. He had spent years navigating these waters and was confident in the yacht's ability to handle anything the channel could throw their way. But as they sailed further from shore, a foreboding silence began to settle over the water. The first sign of trouble was a faint ripple in the distance. The captain, noticing the unusual disturbance, reached for his binoculars. What he saw made his stomach drop. A pod of orcas, their massive dorsal fins cutting through the water, was heading straight for the Blue Horizon. Orcas in the wild were not uncommon in these waters, but their behavior this time felt different. They were moving with speed and precision, their focus unmistakable. Before the crew could fully grasp the situation, the first impact came. An orca rammed into the yacht's hull with a force that reverberated through the entire vessel. The crew staggered, bracing themselves against the unexpected jolt. A second strike followed almost immediately, this time targeting the rudder. The Blue Horizon shuddered under the powerful blow, and a sickening creak echoed as the rudder began to splinter. The once relaxed atmosphere turned to chaos. The crew scrambled to secure loose equipment, their faces pale with fear. The captain barked orders, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "Hold on tight and stay low," he shouted, trying to maintain control over the situation. The youngest crew member clung to the mast, her eyes wide with terror, as she watched the orcas circle the yacht like predators closing in on their prey. The strikes continued with unrelenting ferocity. The orcas, their massive bodies moving with precision, seemed to take turns ramming the yacht. The Blue Horizon tilted dangerously with each impact, its structure groaning under the strain. The crew could feel the yacht's vulnerability. It was as if the orcas were testing the limits of their strength against the vessel. Water splashed onto the deck, and the sails flapped wildly as the boat struggled to stay upright. The captain attempted to steer the yacht away from the pod, but the damaged rudder made navigation nearly impossible. Every attempt to move the vessel was met with another aggressive hit. The crew shouted and banged on the deck, hoping to deter the orcas, but their efforts were in vain. The orcas seemed undeterred, almost playful in their relentless assault. One of the crew members, a marine biologist, tried to make sense of the behavior. "They're targeting the rudder intentionally," she yelled above the chaos. "It's not random. They know exactly what they're doing." Her observation only added to the crew's unease. The orcas' intelligence and coordination were undeniable, and their behavior felt eerily calculated. Minutes felt like hours as the crew braced themselves for each new impact. The yacht was taking on water, and the captain knew they couldn't withstand the attack much longer. He activated the emergency radio, sending out a distress signal. "Mayday, Mayday, this is the Blue Horizon. We are under attack by orcas and taking on water. Request immediate assistance." His voice remained calm, but the urgency in his tone was unmistakable. As the crew awaited a response, they focused on survival. The captain instructed them to don life jackets and prepare to abandon ship if necessary. The yacht's bilge pump struggled to keep up with the incoming water, and the damage to the rudder left them at the mercy of the currents. The orcas, seemingly satisfied with their efforts, began to retreat, their dorsal fins disappearing beneath the waves. The crew watched in stunned silence, unsure if the ordeal was truly over. Relief came in the form of a nearby rescue vessel, which had picked up the distress signal and arrived within the hour. The crew of the Blue Horizon was safely evacuated, though their ordeal had left them shaken. As they were transported to shore, they looked back at their battered yacht, now partially submerged and listing heavily to one side. The damage was extensive, and it was clear that the Blue Horizon would not sail again without significant repairs. The aftermath of the attack left the crew grappling with a mix of emotions. They were grateful to be alive, but deeply unsettled by the experience. For the captain, the attack was a humbling reminder of the ocean's unpredictability and the sheer power of its inhabitants. The marine biologist, though shaken, saw the incident as a stark example of the complex and often misunderstood behavior of orcas. Reports of the attack on the Blue Horizon quickly spread through the maritime community, adding to the growing concern about orca aggression in the region. Experts debated the cause of the behavior, with some suggesting it was a form of play, while others speculated it could be linked to environmental stressors or territorial disputes. Whatever the reason, one thing was clear: the relationship between humans and orcas was entering uncharted waters. The Sunset Dreamer, a sleek and modern catamaran, set sail under a warm spring sun off the coast of Portugal. Its small crew, an experienced captain, and 3 passengers, were on a routine voyage, enjoying the clear skies and calm waters. With its spacious deck and dual hulls, the Sunset Dreamer was built for comfort and stability, making it the perfect vessel for both leisure and exploration. The crew, seasoned sailors and sea enthusiasts, had no reason to anticipate trouble. The waters off Portugal were often dotted with dolphins and occasional whales, a treat for those lucky enough to catch a glimpse. The day seemed no different as they sailed farther from the coastline, the faint outline of Portugal fading into the horizon. Laughter and conversation filled the air, and the gentle rocking of the catamaran created an atmosphere of tranquility. However, that peace was abruptly shattered. The first sign of trouble was a sudden, sharp jolt that reverberated through the catamaran. Everyone on board froze, their eyes darting around in confusion. "Did we hit something?" one passenger asked, her voice laced with worry. The captain quickly checked the navigation equipment and glanced over the side of the vessel. What he saw caused his heart to sink. A pod of orcas was circling the Sunset Dreamer. The orcas, their black and white forms gliding ominously through the water, were moving with intent. Their sleek bodies cut through the waves with a precision that belied their immense size. At first, the crew tried to remain calm, assuming the animals were merely curious. But when one of the orcas rammed into the catamaran's rudder with a resounding thud, it became clear that this was no casual encounter. The Sunset Dreamer shuddered under the force of the strike. The crew scrambled to assess the damage, their faces pale with realization. The rudder, a critical component for steering the vessel, had taken a direct hit. As the crew tried to steer the catamaran away, the orcas continued their assault, striking with a coordination that was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Panic began to set in. The captain barked orders, trying to maintain control of the situation. "Everyone put on your life jackets," he yelled, his voice cutting through the chaos. The passengers complied, their hands trembling as they fastened the safety gear. The catamaran rocked violently with each impact, and the once stable vessel now felt like a fragile toy in the hands of these powerful predators. The strikes became more focused, targeting the already damaged rudder. The crew could hear the splintering of wood and the groaning of metal as the orca's immense strength took its toll. Water began to seep into the lower compartments, and the realization dawned on everyone aboard: they were stranded. The Sunset Dreamer was no longer maneuverable, left at the mercy of the waves and the relentless orcas. One of the passengers, a marine biology student, observed the orca's behavior with a mix of fear and fascination. "They're doing this on purpose," she muttered. "They know exactly what they're doing." Her comment only heightened the tension as the crew struggled to maintain their composure. The orcas showed no signs of stopping, their strikes punctuated by moments of eerie stillness as they circled the immobilized catamaran. With the rudder completely broken and the catamaran drifting aimlessly, the captain activated the emergency distress signal. "Mayday, mayday!" he called into the radio. "This is the Sunset Dreamer. We are under attack by orcas and unable to steer. Request immediate assistance." The urgency in his voice was unmistakable, and the crew held their breath, hoping for a response. Minutes felt like hours as they waited. The orcas, seemingly satisfied with their destruction, began to retreat, their dorsal fins disappearing beneath the waves. The crew watched in a mix of relief and disbelief as the pod swam away. But the danger was far from over. Without a functioning rudder, the catamaran was adrift in open water, vulnerable to the elements and any further encounters. The passengers huddled together, their faces etched with fear. The captain reassured them that help was on the way, though his nerves were frayed. The sound of the radio crackling to life brought a glimmer of hope. A nearby rescue vessel had received their distress signal and was en route to their location. When the rescue boat finally arrived, the crew of the Sunset Dreamer felt an overwhelming wave of relief. The rescuers worked quickly to secure the catamaran and tow it to safety. The journey back to port was slow and arduous, with the damaged vessel trailing behind the rescue boat like a wounded animal. Back on land, the crew and passengers recounted their harrowing experience to maritime authorities and local news outlets. Their story added to the growing list of orca attacks in the region, fueling ongoing debates about the reasons behind this behavior. Some experts speculated that the orcas were simply playing, while others pointed to environmental stressors or learned aggression spreading through specific pods. If you enjoyed this video, watch our next one shown on screen.